The Chargers' passing attack has been super underwhelming recently, but they have a great chance to get on track with a fantastic matchup.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons. This is our 8th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, the Chargers have been getting it done. They've been getting the W's, but unfortunately the passing offense has not looked as electric as we know it is capable of. And there's several reasons for that, but they have a great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys secondary for them to get back on track. And also on offense, you got to feed Omarion Hampton. He seems like he's really rounding into form. You need to keep that up. On defense, got to harass Dak, make it uncomfortable, make him want to throw the ball up. He has 10 interceptions so far this year. He has a propensity to do that. And of course, we are going to wrap things up with our bold and game predictions,
as we always do, and it should be a good one this weekend. I'm torn on who is going to win, but today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. David, this is a strength-on-strength game in a lot of ways, and the big-time discussion is going to be about the Chargers' defense proving it, like you talked about yesterday, against a great offense, because that's really all they struggled against. Colts put up 38 on them, obviously. A couple weeks ago, the Jaguars put up 35. It's a great test, but I also think it's a huge test for the Chargers' offense to show, if they have to, that they can keep up. They will not be able to keep up in this game if the passing game doesn't get right, and this is something where you can excuse it because of some good defenses that they've played against over the last, month and a half. And some games they haven't needed to pass all that much because they were running the ball so effectively. At some point, you're going to have to call upon that side of the ball and get it right. And this is the best matchup they're going to get to try to get things back on track.
Yeah, there's no question about it. The Cowboys are last in passing yards allowed in the league, giving up an average of 254.8 passing yards per game. They're giving up a passer rating allowed of 109.1, and they have allowed 28-plus points in 3 straight games.
Woof.
This is the perfect opportunity for the Chargers passing offense, who has been very, very, average
Stagnant,
or below average. Honestly, the last 5 games, Justin Herbert's been, 220 or less passing yards in his last 5 games. So this is the right time for Justin Herbert to get back on track, find that rhythm offensively through the passing game. There should be a fantastic opportunity for it, and the Chargers should be looking to exploit it early and often.
Yeah, and, Quinnen Williams, if he plays, makes a big difference, and they've been better since he's been there. But even with him, they've still given up some offensive explosions. Last week, he had to leave the game with a concussion. It'll be really interesting to see if he plays, if this game doesn't mean anything and the Eagles win on Saturday, which knocks the Cowboys officially out of playoff contention. But if he does play, it's going to be harder to run. That part is for sure.
Yeah.
And also, it helps their pressure packages. Obviously, Dallas ranks 8th in pressure percentage and 25th in sack percentage. So not a team that gets a bunch of sacks, but neither were the Jaguars, 20th in total sacks this season. But it is going to come down to the Chargers having a prolific passing attack to win this game, in my opinion. You talked about the passer rating allowed. It's the worst in the league. 29th in yards per attempt allowed. And also, the Dallas has allowed more than 100 passing yards more than anyone else so far this season. So they're last. The next closest is over 100 yards less than what they've allowed. I mean, we wondered at one point why they were picking up Triquez Bridges after he gotten cut by the Chargers, because 2 undrafted free agents basically passed him up on the roster, and there's no shade there, but they had some ridiculous undrafted rookies. But that's why. I mean, it's been atrocious for that secondary for a lot of the season, and this is the best time. If it doesn't happen now, it feels like it's not going to happen. But the reason I put Omarion Hampton on the side here is because it feels to me like Omarion, it's just that big game is getting close, right? Where he starts to break some chunk yards out and get his feet back under him after a long absence due to his fractured ankle. Feels like it's getting close, But in this game, the one place I really hope they try to exploit the Cowboys is their linebackers with Omarion Hampton in the passing game. I mean, he only has 3 catches in the 2 games since he's been back. And the 3 games that led to his injury and the game he got injured in, he had 17 catches in those 3 games before he left. He hasn't really been used like that at all since he's been back. We know the Kenneth Murray has his issues in coverage. It's the same thing with Rondé Gadsden yesterday. But if you can get Omarion Hampton on him or Logan Wilson and you're worried about pressure, that's a great outlet. That's a great way to exploit that and get him in the open field. Maybe throw him a screen pass. I mean, we've seen how dangerous. He only needs a little sliver to really get that burst up field, and he feels like he's already gone for 25 yards. Omarion Hampton in this game, if it's not working in the run game, get him going in the passing game. I want to see that part of his game a lot more. And the Cowboys this season, on average, are allowing 5 catches and almost 50 yards to running backs at 9 yards per catch. So it's a weakness they have, and I'd love to see Omarion Hampton's game in the passing game get a lot more action than we've seen so far.
Yeah, more opportunities for him to touch the ball is always going to be a good thing in my book. I always want to get him involved in the offense. The utilization has seen an uptick as far as just snaps, 31% to 36%. I expect that to go up a lot in this game, especially, you're going to be inside. You don't have to worry about any of the elements. This is a perfect place to go out there, and I think let the snap count go up quite a bit. Let him get really involved, get that rhythm, really work a lather up, and really get him ready to go, because he is a catalyst type player. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. Get the ball in his hands in space. That guy is going to break tackles. He's going to get extra yards. He's going to make people miss. And if he gets that chance, he can hit the Jets and he can really take off. We saw that on that 25-plus yard run that he had late in the ball game against the Chiefs. That's the type of stuff that he can bring to the table. So I'm all for that. They called 1 screen pass in that game, and it went for 16 yards. They just absolutely have to do it more, which, brings me to my next key, which is more 3-step drops, less 5 to 7-step drops. It's just more about getting the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands quicker, more quick passes, more slants, more drags, definitely more screens. It's just smart football. Get the ball out of your quarterback's hands, who's been sacked more than anybody in the NFL, and get it in the hands of your playmakers, which you went out and invested in the offseason and in the draft heavily. Use them.
Absolutely. I mean, it felt like in that Jaguars game, like they maybe underestimated that pass rush, and it led them to basically having 0 quick game in that game, right? Like, you remember, and it was like, hey, you just did the Steeler game and had everything all blocked up, and then you go to this game and just leave everyone on an island in Trevor Penning's first game at left tackle. Like, there's a lot of questionable things there, and you just think back to that because it's another good offense, obviously, that just recently beat the Chargers, and the last team to beat the Chargers because they've been on such a hot streak. But the last thing I'd say is just play a clean game. Like, I really want to see that Justin Herbert interception streak end. 4 straight games with an interception. Please. Obviously not all his fault, but he has had some uncharacteristically bad throws in there as well and bad decisions in there. But I also think back to 2 times ago when the Chargers played the Cowboys, right? And you have I believe it was a Jared Cook illegal motion, right? Takes away a touchdown. Cowboys go down and get the game-winning field goal. That was brutal. And also, I think playing a clean game also just means, catching the football. Like the last game, obviously the offense didn't do what we wanted it to, wasn't as good as we wanted. But a lot of that was because of 2 crucial drops that cost you in that game potentially points. So with Justin Herbert and the interception streak, if you're the Chargers, the one way you lose this game, especially with your struggles offensively, is getting yourself back with penalties, committing penalties on a George Pickens deep ball. Like, those are the ways I see the Chargers losing it. I think if they play a clean game, they pull it out.
Absolutely love that. And the last thing I'll throw out there, which is just a key every single week, but especially against one of the better offenses, is in the red zone, score touchdowns. Like, this is the type of offense where you might have to go blow for blow. I mean, it's just one of those type of it could be one of those type of games. Now, I love the defense. I love the way they're playing. But no matter what, when you get into that gold zone, you got to cash in.
Yeah, I think it all has a lot to do with the Chargers running the ball better down there. Like, we've seen a huge improvement in their running game this year. Where we haven't seen that come to, be really effective is in the red zone, where they've just had to settle for way too many field goals. And the team that finishes their drives in this game, because I do think the Chargers defense is going to give up some yards, is probably going to be the team that wins because they got 7 instead of 3 because, hey, both of these teams have really, really good kickers, and I don't really necessarily want to see it be a kicker battle. I want to see the Chargers score some touchdowns. But we still have more to get into, including the defensive keys for success and the pass rush having a big test and a good chance to tee off on Dak Prescott. We're getting into all that and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive, but let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why the Game Time app is so clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup a realistic option instead of being impossible. And they are going to be very, very hard tickets to get, and you will be able to get them with Game Time if you kind of want to have this once in a lifetime moment, or even if you just want to go to the game like David is this weekend. He got his tickets for him and his son on Game Time to go see this Cowboys game. Hopefully see him put a whooping on the Cowboys in Dallas, which would be awesome because obviously he lives in Texas and has some Cowboy fan friends. But you can take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. All right, David, this is something that I wanted to get to you about because it was something we talked about yesterday for the crossover show, but one of the most important things for the Chargers to do in this game, and one of the biggest reasons they've been able to have the success that they've had over their last several games, is being able to really unleash this pass rush. And I mean, since Khalil Mack's been back, the trio of him, Tuli, and obviously Odafe Oweh, Khalil Mack, and Tuli Tuipulotu has been phenomenal. I mean, it's their new NASCAR package. It's working exactly like we hoped it would, as far as like a different complementary rusher, a guy that has a different skill set than when Khalil and Tuli bring to the table as bigger physical power type of guys. Odafe Oweh brings all of the right kind of counters to that, where it's like whatever your weakness is as an offensive lineman, one of those three guys is going to be able to exploit it. And I think in this game, especially with the offense they're going up against, like they need to cause chaos in front of Dak. And this is an offensive line, David, and an offensive unit that has allowed 41 pressures over the last 2 weeks. If the Chargers can be, keep that average and get to 20 plus, I think they're going to have a really good chance to win.
Yeah, they no question about will if they keep up that pace. And guess what? They are on a torrid pace right now. Right now, one of my keys is pressure creates diamonds, and they are doing it at an exceptional level. Keeping that unit going crazy is important to winning this game. 64 pressures and 13 sacks in their last 3 games for this Chargers pass rush and defense. They are going absolutely wild, and that in turn, that pressure turns into interceptions. And as we've seen, interceptions win games for the Chargers. They've closed out the last 2 games with big time interceptions. So, you get that pressure in his face, you make him uncomfortable, and you go after an offensive line that's dealing with their own injuries and their own issues. You definitely want to exploit that. And yes, I love the fact that Odafe Oweh is just a little bit more slippery, a little bit quicker, has that great length. He's an excellent complement to Tuli Tuipulotu, who's having a career year, and Khalil Mack, who's still really getting it done with the power game.
He really is, man. I mean, don't only look at the sack numbers. Obviously, he missed 4 games. Khalil Mack has been awesome once again as a great, re-signing by the Chargers. And it's going to feel like that again at the end of the season, even at his age. But Daniel Pomper this week wrote a great article about how Odafe Oweh has unlocked the Chargers pass rush. One of the good nuggets from that is with Odafe Oweh, Tuli, and Khalil Mack all on the field, the Chargers are getting pressure at 55% of the time. And in those 61 snaps, they've been able to do it. 12 sacks and 4 strip sacks. That means that's a 20% sack rate when those guys are all together on the field. So I think it's about getting them to those situations, right? And I think the other thing for me in this one is how the Chargers you have to have the right keys, to the test for this one as far as how you're going to defend the run, because this year the Cowboys have run for 91 or more yards in 8 straight games, 120 or more yards in 5 of their last 8. Basically every game except for 2, they've been over 100 yards this season. So this is a consistent rushing attack. It's not one that's going for 200 all the time, but I want to know how the Chargers are going to defend it, because they've gone to a little bit more heavy boxes recently. At the same time, though, when you have to kind of use the resources that you have to for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, how much are they going to be able to actually keep in the box, right? Because it's a major difference. The Cowboys are only averaging 2.8 yards per carry, 26th in the NFL with 8 or more defenders in the box. But they've only had to run into that lick on 120 rushes this year because of how good those receivers are. With 5 to 7 defenders in the box, the Cowboys rank 7th in the league, averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. So I'm really interested to see how they attack it, because if you go heavy in the box, then you're leaving those guys and really trusting those corners on the outside. But if you go light in the box, they've been able to punish teams who have done that to them in the past.
Yeah, so it's just going to be about discipline, right? Making sure that you are staying and getting off blocks, making sure that you're playing with that requisite violence that they've been playing with the last few weeks. Like, a big key to their success has been being where they need to be and being great at tackling and just ending plays right there at the line of scrimmage or after short gains. That's how they've been having success. And hey, if they keep this Cowboys offense, rushing offense under, 75 rushing yards, I think they'll have had really, really good success against this team, because Javonte Williams is having a great year for the Cowboys, and it's a big part of their offense. I think one of my general keys here is just keep them under 21 points. The Chargers have held their opponents under 21 points in 6 of their last 7 games, and in their last 6 games, they're 5-1. So, basically, if you get a lead and you keep them under 20 points, like Justin Herbert's almost undefeated in that situation. It's a recipe for success. So it's obviously going to be a lot easier said than done, because this is one of the better offenses in the league, no question. But when they get down to the red zone, the Chargers have to do what they have done a lot lately, which is bend, but don't break.
Yeah, and the Cowboys haven't been held to 21 or less since week 9 against the Arizona Cardinals. So not many have been able to do it. They've faced some good defenses in that time, including the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And nobody's been able to hold them to under 21. I think if the Chargers hold the Cowboys to 22-24 in this game, it's probably a very good performance, talking about a team who's averaging much more than that offensively. You'd still be giving them a bad day at the office. But yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. One of the last keys I have here, frustrate George Pickens. This is one of my favorite ones, and one that is going to be kind of must-see TV, because George Pickens is in a contract year, and he's been going scorched earth. He has over 1,200 yards already. He has slowed down recently, though. Over the last couple of games, hasn't been nearly as good as he had been the rest of the year. He has 2 games where he has 70 yards, or he has over 1,200 yards this year, but the last 2 games he has 70 yards on 8 catches. So he has slowed down. He's trying to get that money, but also he's just one of the more polarizing diva type of receivers in the league. And I do think that there is something to, if the Chargers don't let him get involved early, does that get to him a little bit, right? Does he shut down a little bit? He also has 4 fumbles in his last 6 games, and has fumbled the ball twice in his last 3 games. So go for that ball. Be able to tackle him. Don't interfere with him. But more than anything, frustrate him. See if you can get him off of his game, because if he gets off of his game, now you're not dealing with 2, number 1 level receivers.
Yeah, because one thing we do know is CeeDee Lamb's going to get his. He has been targeted 7+ times in every single game that he's played this season. So he's going to get his. You can't let him get his and let George Pickens get his as well, or else this is going to be a long, long day. But get in his face, rough him up, make sure when you got that 5 yards and you're in press coverage that you knock him around and you make it uncomfortable, because he's the type of guy that will be frustrated, show his frustration, and then he'll give up on routes. We've seen it. If you watch it, there's plenty of examples where you're like, is that guy jogging? Is he even trying? If he knows he's not getting the ball, he's kind of pouts a little bit out there. So you want to get him in that mode, and if you frustrate him to that point, you essentially take him completely out of the game.
One thing about it, think about the receivers that the Steelers have had, including Antonio Brown and Chase Claypool and some Deontay Johnson. With the way all those have played out, George Pickens was the one that they were get him out of here, and traded him, even though that offense could probably really use him, and him and DK Metcalf would be a pretty scary tandem. And George Pickens has proven the Cowboys right. He's been awesome. But a lot of times it's pretty boom or bust, right? He has 6 games of less than 70 yards and 4 games of 130 yards or more. It is volatile. He either, goes off, or he has a pretty modest game. So if you can, like trying to make them one-dimensional by, stopping the run and forcing them into a lot of 3rd and 10s, and they'll get some of them. You know what I mean? But if you keep putting them in those situations over and over, they're not going to get all of them. So if they can take away George Pickens and slow down the running game, yeah, CeeDee Lamb could have a good game. But what if they stop CeeDee Lamb? That is one of the bold predictions today. And also, if this could be rookie Trey Harris's breakout performance, we're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is the best time for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once, and while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. If you haven't played Prize Picks before, it is incredibly easy. I mean, for this game, this is how it works. You go with Justin Herbert to throw for more than or less than 245.5 passing yards, and combine that with a Rondé Gadsden II to get more than or less than 3.5 receptions. If you hit on both of those, you win. And the more projections you do, the more you can make. So they also have the new stack feature, which lets you choose the same player for up to 3 times in the same lineup. So like Justin Herbert's passing yards, his touchdowns, his rushing yards, you can now stack that. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. David, we still have more to get into because we haven't gotten into the Everydayers Bold Prediction segment, which we're going to now. Thank you to everyone who contributed to today's show and getting your bold predictions on the show. And we had a few of them, including last week, Andre Montano getting less than 200 yards for Patrick Mahomes and more than 200 for Justin Herbert. That one came true, as
Well
have
done.
several others so far. But I do want to get to this one here, David, from Kevin McNeil, who thinks a Chargers rookie that's not Omarion Hampton could be fed on Sunday. And that's him saying, Trey Harris, big game, 4 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown here from Kevin McNeil. Trey Harris coming off one of his more impressive games, his most impressive catch as a Charger so far. It would be really cool to see him have his breakout performance.
Yeah, it would be. And, the Cowboys secondary has some injury issues that they're going on with as well. Deron Bland having that foot injury looks like he's going to be out. Looks like they might put him on IR, so he might be done for the season.
I didn't see that.
And, Donovan Wilson, who also has been, on the injury report so far. You kind of might want to see him on the field.
I was going to say that one.
Giving
that
him
one
7 touchdowns so far.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be to the Chargers' benefit.
Donovan.
This is a great matchup for Trey Harris to continue to build off of a fantastic performance where he had stepped in kind of in a situation where they didn't know if Quentin was going to be able to play. He couldn't. And the rookies were able to answer the call. And who knows if QJ is going to be back this week. He has been back in practice, in a limited capacity. So we'll see. I mean, hey, I think Trey Harris has earned his opportunities, and I would love to see him go out there and continue to get rewarded with catching the football.
And we knew his production was always going to be limited this year because of the amount of weapons that the Chargers had. Like, it would have taken a major injury. Thankfully, we haven't seen one in that room where they've had to really dip into that depth. But last game, to your point, when QJ couldn't play, he stepped up in a big way. And I mean, you have, Greg Roman now, you're saying, hey, he played 3 positions last week and had 0 mental errors. So
love that.
The trajectory is pointing way up for Trey Harris. I don't know if we'll see him get that huge game this year, but if there was a matchup to do it, I think it's much more likely against the Cowboys than against the Broncos or the Texans who are coming up. But maybe it's Lab McConkey who has a big game here, David, but maybe it's not as a receiver.
Daniel, David, a field goal prediction for Sunday. Special team shine. I'm going Lad McConkey, a punt return for a touchdown, and another punt will set Dicker for the game winner. Chargers escape AT&T Stadium with a 27-24 victory. Let's go, baby.
Theo, I love anytime we can get the special teams involved in the bold predictions for sure, because it is so important. And I mean, look back to this last game where the Chargers, right before halftime when they really turned that game around, it was the Keandre Lambert-Smith return out to the 40 that really set things up and gave them a chance. If not that, then they're going for a field goal at most in that situation if he has a bad return there. So I love that. Ladd, a modest 10 yards per punt return this season. But of course, David, the best one he had was called back where he hurdled a punter and got in for a touchdown. But I actually like this. I think Ladd is super underrated in the open field.
I just want to see him get more opportunities to go out there and show what he can do because like I was going to say, like that was the best highlight and it got called back. So just the special teams game, they can change the outcome of a game when you have those type of plays. Like you just talked about it. We've seen it, many times. If you get a big return, obviously a punt return touchdown is awesome because that's just, a huge momentum swing. But even just a big punt return in general, that can flip the field and give you a much better chance to be able to score a touchdown. I mean, hey, if you got to go 25, 30 yards instead of going 65 yards, obviously that's a big difference.
100%. It's a huge difference. And I think it's just, one of the big reasons the Chargers have gotten so hot is because their special teams has gotten a lot better, right? Like this is a special teams unit that's turned a corner in a big way for the most part, especially on coverage. Delshon Phillips, shout out, Pro Bowl consideration for sure. I think
dude's a beast. He's a tackling machine.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he lays the wood too. I mean, he has some big hits on that highlight reel. And I think it's just when you're going up against a team that has Kevontae Turpin as well, a team that has, Brandon Aubrey, their own great special teams, you need your special teams to rise to the occasion. And I love that because any hidden yardage you can get is going to, I think, pay off in a big way. But let's get to this one here from Jackson, who says Chargers offense will combine for over 400 yards of total offense and will drop 28 points on this Cowboys defense. Scoring under 20 on this Cowboys defense will not be enough. And the reason I want to use this one is because I agree for the most part where it's like, I don't think the Chargers are winning this game 17-13. I don't think they're winning it 22-19 like they did against the Eagles or 16-13 like they did against the Chiefs. The Chargers offense has to show up for this game, and this is a defense that gives up a 375 yards per game. I mean, the Chargers haven't put up 400 yards, David, since week 8 against the Vikings. It's been a while. It's time to break that.
Yep, and I think right now the great news that I've paid attention to so far is that Justin Herbert has 2 back-to-back full participation practices this week. So it seems like that hand is getting healthier, and I think that only bodes well for him going up against a defense that is very vulnerable and should be shredded by him in this offense. This right here is the chance, the opportunity to try to go get this thing figured out and go fire on all cylinders before you have to go face the gauntlet. 2 of the best defenses in the NFL with the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos back to back. If you're not going to get it figured out against this defense, you're probably not going to get it figured out against those defenses. So you want to do it right here, right now, get fired up, go out there and execute so that you can hopefully take that positive momentum against 2 much more difficult tests.
And I just feel like it's not going to feel the same. Like, even if the Chargers squeak out a 20-19 win in this one, like, I'm still going to have major concerns about their offense. Like, as much as a win is a win and you take it and you get to 11 and you see what you can do in the AFC West and as far as the playoffs go. But, like, man, it feels like something really needs to happen for this offense this week. So I agree with the sentiment here. But let's switch over to the defensive side where maybe the Chargers can limit one of the Cowboys stars.
Hey, guys. My name is Bryson. I'm from Texas. I've been listening to the show for about 8 years now, and I normally don't call in, but I have a really good feeling about this one. CeeDee Lamb has been hot lately with 3 games over 100 yards, but I think that ends on Sunday. The Chargers are going to hold him under 40 yards receiving. Thanks, guys. I'm going to the game, too, so, David, I hope I run into you at the game, so I hope you have a good time. Thank you. Bolt up.
That's awesome, Bryson. Thank you for being an everyday and for being with us for that long. I mean, don't go back and listen to those shows you were listening to 8 years ago. Please, God. This would be huge. I mean, obviously, if George Pickens on the other side is going for $165, it's not. But, like, receivers have not been good against the Chargers. Like, the only time that a receiver has had over 100 yards this year was Cortland Sutton, who had 6 for $118 in that first Broncos game. But that was mostly because of, I believe, a 52-yard broken play touchdown, or he had, the double pass touchdown that they had in that game where the Chargers just got beat on it. So hard to do. A.J. Brown got exactly 100. Waddle went 6 for 95. Justin Jefferson 7 for 77. wide receiver ones have had some success. At the same time, he's also missed both practices this week with an illness. I find it hard to believe he's going to miss the game. But I do think, hey, maybe that does at least, just slow him down a little bit. And if there is a secondary that can do that to a CeeDee Lamb, I think it's this Chargers defense. But let's get into our game predictions here, David. I'm having a tough time with this one. You are going to be at the game, or are you going to witness a victory?
Yeah, so with this one, I have a couple of goals that I'm trying to accomplish here. My son does not watch my show or listen to it, so he does not know. We're going to be sitting field level. We're going to be sitting 10 rows from the floor behind the Chargers bench. This is going to be a great memory for him, and I'm hoping to convert him to a Chargers fan because if he is unfortunately a Chiefs fan, so he's not feeling very good right now because his team just got eliminated. But with that being said, I think it's time for the Chargers to put on a show against this Cowboys defense, and it's time to go fire on all cylinders. It's time for Justin Herbert to show everybody why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and remind everybody that he is that dude. I'm going 34-24. Chargers win by 10 in Dallas and essentially punch their ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd be pretty much game over if they can win this one. But yeah, I mean, no pressure, Justin Herbert, but on your massive shoulders in this game, you also have not only to beat the Cowboys, but to convert Julian to being a Chargers fan. If you show him what it's like, give him something good, please. Because, I mean, we've been through enough. He's not ready for those ones yet, those tough ones yet. Give him a good one here to start and get him over to, to the light side, to the good side. I have a really tough one. This is really tough for me because, like I said, I think it's a battle of strengths. It's the Chargers' good defense versus a really good Cowboys offense, but it's a bad Chargers offense versus a bad Cowboys defense. And that's what makes it so tough. It can, what the Chargers are going to give up defensively be covered up by their offense taking advantage of a really bad defense, right? And I think the thing is like the Chargers offensive line is just the equalizer. Like they can make lesser defenses have better games because of how bad the protection can be. And it just can't happen in this game. You have to be able to get the passing game going. And even though I have a really bad feeling about this game, I'm going Chargers 27, Cowboys 26 in a thriller. I can't wait to watch it. I'm scared, but I hope they can give us a victory Sunday show. I'll be on the postcast as well right after, so I definitely don't want to do that. In a loss, I'd much rather do that and hang out with Pete and Kenyon in a win before we do our live show later on. But thank you guys, as always, for checking the show out and making us your first listen every single day. If you want some extra Locked On Chargers, you can do that in the Everydayer Club at lockedonchargers.supercast.com, where you can get an ad-free version of the podcast and also get access to our exclusive Discord channel where we'll be popping bottles in if the Chargers can pull it off against the Cowboys, because we all have a Cowboys fan friend that we don't like. But to make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. And make sure you guys are back here on Sunday for the postcast and for our live victory show. Fingers crossed that night when David gets home. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.